Hi everyone, welcome to Tarot Story Hour Saturday. This is episode 1, and in honor of Halloween, I am going to be doing a solo show. Most of my shows will involve other tarot readers and intuitives telling their stories using tarot, but today I'm going to tell a very scary story. This is Halloween 1978, and this is when I was 9 years old. And I was with my best friend, Bonnie, and my name is Gigi, by the way, and this is Green Adventuring Tarot, and I'm so happy you're here. This is really scary. This is a true story that I'll be telling using my tarot decks. So I want to talk about Halloween. This is a great time to start this series. This will be every other Saturday, and hopefully more if we can get more readers. So if you are a reader or an intuitive and love to use tarot, please join me for this story hour and just message me or email me, and all the links will be below if you would like to come on and tell a story using tarot and using oracle cards as your guide or another divination technique. I would love that. So today I'm using all tarot cards to tell my scary Halloween night from 1978. And I grew up in a very big city at that time. Soon thereafter, I think 3 years after this incident, we did move to a small town. So I also got to know what it was like to live in a small town as well. But this was a large town in the West Coast, and it was not the best city in the world. It had a lot of crime, and we lived just outside of the fancy part of town. And my dear friend, Bonnie, she was 1 year younger than me. So she was 8 and I was 9. And this is in the 70s. So remember, give that context when you see how much freedom we had. And now, of course, I've raised my daughter, and I would never do this. We've all learned a lot as a culture with protecting children. But I want to let you know that at that time, most of these things were considered fairly normal, and we can talk about that as well. So it was October 1979, and I was so excited for Halloween to come. There's no school break, and so you have to pretty much get through school. Super exciting, whether it be a weeknight or a weekend, didn't matter. And everyone started trick-or-treating when I was a kid in that area. About 8:30, 7:30 to 8:30, when it was nice and dark, and to get all of our candy and go door to door. So my best friend, her mom dropped her off, and it was very exciting. We were just thrilled. She was going to be a gypsy, and I was going to be a ballerina. So we had our costumes all ready. We've been working on them for weeks and weeks. And so we were very excited, and the excitement of getting a big pillowcase full of candy was just fabulous. It just makes, your heart swoon. And so we wanted to get the biggest bang for our buck. And a lot of kids will understand this, especially kids in the tough neighborhoods. We wanted to take a walk to the nicer neighborhood so we could get better candy. So this was our goal. That's all we had in mind. And so I remember her mom dropped her off, and it was about, 7:30 or 8. We worked on all of our costumes. She was a gypsy, and so she had all these cool scarves and big hoop earrings and a scarf around her neck. It was really, at that time, it was a very popular costume. So a lot of people my age will remember that costume. And then I was a ballerina. So my mom helped me put it together. I had a pink leotard and pink tights, and I may have taken a dance class or two. So I must have had the slippers. And then I had the tutu, which I made with my mom, and put my hair up in a bun, to look like a ballerina. And even though I was cold, it didn't matter. I wanted to celebrate. I was really, really excited. And so my friend had all of her scarves, and it was really cool. And we were just putting on glitter and having lots of fun, and my mom was helping us. And so we got our pillowcases ready, and we were ready to hit the neighborhood. There's a catch though. The neighborhood is about a mile away. So we went ahead and we started our journey. So this is when I would like to pull 2 cards to explain kind of the energy of where we were at. Here is the Page of Cups, and that's me in the tutu. And then here's my beautiful friend. She was the Page of Cups also, with that gorgeous, look at all that beautiful fabric. And so both of us were so excited and I will tell you about all the decks below. This is the Aquarian Tarot and this is the Trick or Treat Tarot. So we were both all ready to get going on our trip. We were very excited. And that lovely innocence, that page energy. And also another card that really symbolizes that energy for me, that feeling of innocence, is also the Sun card here in the Pulp Tarot. That was kind of our energy, very innocent. We didn't ever think anything bad would happen that night, being off on our own. And of course, at that time, parents didn't always take their kids out trick-or-treating like they do now. So we were all sort of off to the races, having a great time and really looking forward to it. And also I want to show this Trick or Treat Tarot. This is the Fool card. So that's the beginning of our journey, with that lovely kid dressed up as a ghost. And we really were just sort of jumping into the unknown. We had no idea. We were just having a great time. We wanted candy, candy, candy. That was it. That was the goal. And then also another beautiful card to symbolize that evening and that feeling of innocence that I loved so much. This is the Ace of Pentacles. And this is the feeling of the night is so young and we're going to go out there and find our fortune of candy. And so that was very exciting. Maybe we might bump into some people, maybe not. But this was all about the dynamic duo going out there and really making it happen. And then also the Six of Pentacles is the Trick or Treat card here in the Housewives Tarot. This is exactly the feeling that we were feeling. It was great. So as we move forward into our evening, and here's the Moon card to show that things are going to be revealed to us and we're not quite sure what they are. And that's kind of the energy as we were moving forward. And also with the Ace of Wands, I was out there trying to make magic. I had my best friend, and it was the night of all nights to get all the candy you ever wanted, and we were able to launch forward. So anyway, we leave my house, we walk about 4 blocks to the school. We cut through the field at my elementary school, and then the front of the school opened up to 1 block from the nicer neighborhood. So we walked through, and it was kind of scary walking down kind of a busy road, cutting through the school, and then opening up to the front of the school where, you know, you drive up and drop off kids in the front entrance of an elementary school. We're walking through, we hang a right, we go down, we can see all the big houses, all decorated and illuminated, and all the kids running around, and it was very exciting. In the middle of this very fancy neighborhood, there was this beautiful manicured park. And so that was sort of the epicenter on all these fancy homes surrounded this park. And then it would sort of go out and out and out. So it was about 4 blocks outside of the park, and then there was a natural barrier of a big busy road, and then the other side was a natural barrier of another park, and the barrier on this side was the elementary school. So we're kind of in this sort of giant, sort of like 4 football fields neighborhood kind of environment. So it had this very fancy feeling. And so as we were entering the neighborhood, it was like going into Oz, you know, it was like, ooh, here we go. And so that energy was really wonderful. We didn't think anything would ever go wrong. And so as we entered into that, we hit the first house, beautiful giant porches, big, you know, haystacks and scarecrows and jack-o'-lanterns and moms that, you know, were waiting by the door, and grandparents, and oh, what are you? Oh, it's a ballerina and it's a gypsy. Oh, he, you know, and we're getting bags of candy. And we were right. It was some good candy in this environment. We said trick or treat, and then we opened up our thing. They threw the candy in, and then we said thank you, and then we went off to the next house, and then the next house, and then the next house. So it was probably about 8:30. And so as we kept going, There were teenagers, there were other people milling about, kids playing on the swing sets in this big park environment, people with dogs, few, grandparents milling about, moms with strollers, things like that. So it was very populated and it was wonderful. And so I just wanted to use this card, really our perception with this is Beloved Dead Oracle, by the way. This perception was all of goodness and wonderfulness. We just never had any, we really hadn't developed our intuition yet on anything being amiss. It was a lovely environment, plus candy. I mean, it was like, and then we're eating it too, as we're walking from house to house, trick or treat, waiting our turn. Often there'd be 7 or 8 kids deep, and then we'd slowly walk up and get our candy and say thank you, and then go to the next house and then the next house. So as we did this, we realized it was getting darker and there were less and less kids around. And so we sort of did the whole circle around, and then we went to the next, we sort of went around, and we sort of, as we moved away from that park center, we saw less and less kids, and it was getting later and later. So that's what was interesting. I feel like we were getting a little, and it was chilly too. So we're getting a little colder. So I'm going to use this card to describe, this is the energy I felt, this 8 of Cups energy, sort of leaving that protective energy and going off into the darker streets. There were a few streets that weren't as lit. And also in this, in Halloween, some people turn their porch light off to symbolize they're not home, or they're not interested, or they just don't want to pass out candy, or they don't want to celebrate. So we did see quite a few of those homes as we sort of left the safety of the park area and the block surrounding it. And so I remember there were all these parked cars sort of on the edge of the park as you were going, as the lights sort of got dimmer and dimmer, because it also got darker and darker. I saw a blue sedan, and I thought, that's interesting. And I saw a guy sitting inside of the sedan, and I just kind of noticed him, and I thought, oh, he's probably waiting for his kids, etc., etc. So we kept walking, and we were very excited. And I want to show you a card that really symbolized our energy. This was the energy. We really were holding hands, and we were a little scared because it was getting darker and darker. And by the way, we were getting slightly further and further from our home to walk home. And so, but we were together, this 2 of Cups energy, we were together and we were having a great time. And so we slowly walked away, and we found some great candy, a couple houses, nobody answered, even though the porch light was on. And we thought, okay, let's keep going. So I turned to my beautiful friend, Bonnie, and I said, Bonnie, do you want to go to this road down here? And the road was a little bit darker, and it was a little bit off the beaten path, and we could hear people in the background, but there were no kids down this road. And she said, okay, let's try it. We were a little bit scared. So this was sort of the energy right here. Look at that. That was the energy. And this is the 5 of Pentacles. So it was a little bit kind of like, oh, are they going to answer the door? And so we go up to the door at this one darker road. It was on the corner, this one house. We rang the doorbell, and nobody answered. And then we realized we were the only 2 little kids in the whole area. Everyone had faded away. And I looked to her and I said, well, do you want to try the next house? And she said, well, okay. And so as we were turning away from the house on the corner that didn't have anyone respond, just like that card, what we decided to do is we decided to try maybe 3 more houses and then turn around and run back where everyone was. So as we turned off the porch and we started walking down the steps of this house where nobody answered, we saw that blue car again, and it was right in front of the house. And then we realized something was wrong. There was someone following us, and it was frightening. And even though we were young and innocent, we knew that someone alone in a car following us was not good. And so this is the clarion call right here from Spirit to beware. and we both had tingles down our spine, and we were very worried. This is the attention from spirit. And we were very concerned, and I squeezed her hand and I said, let's go to the next house. And if we can't get someone to answer, then we'll go to the next house and then we'll run. And she said, are you sure? And I said, yes. So we went to the next house, right next door to the house on the corner. Again, no one answered. The car creeped forward and followed us as we went down to the next house. And we were totally and completely frightened, protecting ourselves. We knew we had to put a protective shield around us, just like the Seven of Wands energy. And we knew we were on our own, and our intuition was telling us we have to get inside of one of these houses. We must get safety. We had nowhere to go. We would have to go past that car in order to leave that street. We were extremely scared. And so we went to the next house, and the car inched forward, and we were petrified at that point. We were both shaking as we rang the doorbell to the third house down the block. And we were extremely frightened. And this was our tower moment. We knew that if no one answered the door, something very terrible was going to happen. And we didn't know what, but we knew that you're not ever, ever supposed to talk to anyone in a car at night following you, ever. They had no good intentions with two little girls. So we rang the doorbell, and we both hugged each other and waited, and rang the doorbell and rang the doorbell and knocked on the door. And we waited and waited. The light was on, by the way, thank God. So we knew someone was there. And we waited, and then finally I heard very lightly, I'm coming to the door. Hold on, hold on. And it was the faint voice of a little old lady who was slowly, you could hear her slowly walking to the door. And I'm going to show you some cards about that feeling. And it was amazing. We were in this moment right here, petrified, out in the dark with this Five of Pentacles energy, waiting and waiting for her to answer the door. It was almost like that predator was waiting to see if no one would answer the door. And like an angel, she answered the door. And I want to show you this beautiful card. She was our crone. She was our high priestess, this beautiful little old lady. She answered the door for us, and we said, hi, we are trick-or-treating and we need to use your phone. We're petrified. And she looked at us, and it took her a minute. I mean, this was someone quite elderly. She looked at us, and we had obviously interrupted her TV time or her reading time. And then she looked right past us, just like an older woman knows. And she saw there was a man sitting in a car with the engine running. And she looked at us and she said, where are your parents? And I said, they're at home. And she said, okay, come in now. So she brought us in, shut the door. She locked the door, which now I look back on it, and she must have seen what dire straits we were in with that man outside watching us. And this is another card that I pull in a lot of my readings for men up to no good or people up to no good. That was really the energy. And she saw that this person's appearance didn't look right in a night where children are vulnerable and walking around seeking candy and joy and having a great time. She let us in and she said, here's the phone. Would you like me to call your mom or your parents, or would you like to call? And we said, yes, we have. She said, do you know your phone number? Thank God we did know our phone numbers. So always remember your phone number. Teach all children. And so I rang my mom, and we had a break from this intensity with the Nine of Wands, and she kept an eye on us. She still wasn't quite sure about, she wanted to make sure. She was practicing very good judgment. She knew she had to weigh it out, but she knew that we were harmless. And she knew that there was a snake out there, and she knew that we needed assistance. So we rang the phone. My mom, thank God, answered. There were very few answering machines back then. And she said, she was angry, and she said, "Why are you calling? Why aren't you coming home? I don't understand. What's going on?" And I said, I need you to pick us up. We're really scared, and there's someone following us, and we're really scared. Remember, back then we were always afraid we were going to get in trouble. That was always because kids were not looked at like they are now. We were always looked at like we were up to no good. That was the energy. And she said, "Oh God, okay, where are you?" And I said, "Let me ask the lady who owns this house. We're using her phone." And so then she got on the phone, she gave her directions. We waited, and with that beautiful feeling of collaboration and the map, and she explained to my mom where her home was. And it seemed like it took an eternity. And we waited and waited. And then finally, my mom showed up and took us away. And we were very, very happy. It was like this beautiful, lovely crone energy was being of service for us and helping us and to be free. And I felt like that star card, the ballerina, happy again. And my friend and I were jumping up and down and with joy that somebody had listened to us as children and were helping us. It was truly an amazing time. I think my mom's reaction was not very kind considering how dire the circumstances were. I think the elderly woman was more than kind. We waited by the front door. We looked out the window. There was a little window to her door. We were petrified to look out the window. Finally, after an eternity, I looked out the window and I saw that the blue car had gone away, thank God. And we had waited and waited. And my mom finally showed up, and then we said thank you to the woman, and we were just overjoyed. And we said, "That's our mom, that's my mom coming to pick both of us up." And she said, "Okay, good night." And we left, and we were whisked away by my mom, and we revealed to us with this moon card, this amazing, amazing energy, which was, now was the time. We were now able to be free and to move away with the Six of Swords to a calmer place and get back home to my home. And my wonderful friend Bonnie was spending the night. And so then, back then, of course, we never talked about these things. So this is what makes this so infuriating as being now a woman that lives in this era, is that we didn't really talk about it. And so when we got home, it was just this energy. It was just back to having a good time and partying. There was no police called. There was no anyone notified. Nothing. There was no social media. No way to let other children know. We were just so grateful and full of joy to be home and to be back and to be resting and to be sort of, you know, with that Four of Swords energy, sort of getting away from that feeling of being petrified. And my dear friend and I, we were finally able, and my mom was able to take us with the Queen of Pentacles energy. We were able to get back home and be with our tribes, right here with our beautiful tribes, and count our candy and lay it all out on the bed and finally relax and have this amazing energy, this Ten of Cups energy, the two children. I love that. That's exactly how it felt to be home, to get into our pajamas and to finally rest and enjoy our evening. And the Wheel of Fortune spun in our favor. We were able to not only feel a lot better and feel happy that our evening was, in our eyes, a total success, but then get away from anything that felt really scary. And I think what I learned from that evening, and this is what the two cards I really wanted to show you guys, the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Pentacles, we went from pages to knights that night. We really learned how to think on our feet and how to be successful and listen to our gut. And I'm so grateful that that woman was able to be there for us and didn't say, because back then, remember, it was very common to say, go away, leave me alone. And she let us in, and that was really wonderful. And then myself, as the Leo, I turned into a Knight of Wands, and then my little friend, who was a Taurus, she was able to turn into a Knight of Pentacles, and she is a very cautious adult now as well. And I think it really taught us a lot of how to be resourceful and how to tap into your inner resources. Even if the adults, not all the adults get it, but there'll be one adult that might get it. And so finally, we finished our evening. There's the world, just like how we started with the Fool. We finished our evening, and we were able to finish that and learn a powerful lesson, which is we have to be so cautious and so careful, but we also want to listen to our intuition and our gut, and really learn how to find our inner power and our inner resources. And we did that, and we didn't let that diminish our light. It made us stronger, and it made us realize that we're going to keep going with our lives and have a great time. It could have been very terrible, but it wasn't. And we are now here. She's a thriving adult, as am I. We're here to help others and to help our children and all the people in our community be more aware, because we learned a lot that night. And also, as a side note, I really want to talk about being a kid in that era. I've been reading an autobiography. This is a great memoir, by Moon Unit Zappa, who is exactly my age, and she just came out with this book. And in this book, I've been learning a lot. And she had very famous hippie parents. And my parents were also very hippie, but they weren't famous. But the consciousness was very similar. And I'm glad we've sort of shed some of the ideals from that era are amazing, of peace and love. And, Tarot is, you can thank the 70s for that. In fact, that's why I used the Aquarian Tarot for much of this reading, because this was the tarot deck that many adults had when I was a kid in the 70s. This was a very popular deck. In addition to Morgan Greer, that one was a really big one, and the RLS, of course. So what I learned about this sort of culture of letting kids be free and be free range and all of that, you learn a lot, but you also learn some really tough things. And I didn't have that real protective energy like a lot of friends that I knew that had more protective parents. So I really had to learn on my own to develop my intuition. And as an intuitive and a reader and a clairaudient, I now am grateful that I went through that so I can learn these things. But I also really encourage people to learn things that maybe aren't so overwhelming and that are life-threatening. There are better ways to learn these lessons that don't have to be so intense. And that's just one of many stories that I and many people from my generations and the generations before and upcoming will have about physical safety, et cetera, and not having cell phones or any kind of way to reach anyone when you're out there living your life and trying something fun and exciting and new. I always encourage people to do that, but to also practice caution. And so I really learned a lot. So back to the Moon Unit Zappa book, what I got out of that is I feel like there was this great experiment with raising children. And I loved that. And I loved so much of it really brings your mind, keeps your mind open-minded. And it really helped me tap into my spirituality. And it helped me understand and not have as much judgment of others. But then the dark side of that is there are people that don't see the world that way, and so they take advantage of that open kind of hippie loving energy. So we have to really do a lot of protection around ourselves, those of us who are really open to things and are more sensitive, and really find our tribe and be affirming and loving with those who we love and cherish. And really if people have bad intentions, we We do our work, we push them away, and we wish them well and for them to learn their lessons. It's never about revenge. It's always about protection and wishing people well. They have their spirit guides and they have their ancestors that will help them. And we all have the ability to tap into spirit and to ask for divine intervention. And I believe that's when we got that evening. And so that is my lesson that I learned of many as a 9-year-old kid on Halloween. And so I'm wishing you all the best. And so remember, if you have a story, and I have so many dear tarot friends out there and other intuitives, if you have a story, I want you to come onto my channel and join me for Story Hour. I would love it, using tarot as your guide. We would love that. I am just so thrilled and so excited to have all of you here, and I want to wish everyone a happy Halloween. And for this story, this is my world, this is my chapter that I am finishing on this story, and there will be more stories I will be telling that are a little more maybe romantic. Who knows? We're going to tell some good ones. But this one was a really important one this time of year I wanted to share with everyone. All right. And so drop me a line. I have my email, or you can direct message me on Instagram if you would like to join my channel. All right, everyone, and have a beautiful and amazing Saturday.